Hello, my name is Mario Covone. I'm the writer of the comic book series Video Nasty, British horror comic that was released throughout 2014 and became the most successful British independent comic on the market. Um, it's been it's been an interesting year and one where I've learned many lessons. So I wanted to take this time to create a video for any aspiring artists and writers who want to break into the comic book industry as a creator and pass on a bit of advice. You haven't asked for my advice, so you don't have to watch this. But it's been a hard year, a very hard year, and for me to say that my comic is the most successful of the year and not come on here and brag in a swimming pool full of cash just goes to show that I'm not here to patronise, but to give you the harsh truth on what it takes to put out an independent comic book. First of all, concept. There are 1,000,001 independent superhero books out there. The market is just swollen with them. Everyone's got an idea for the next big thing in superhero books, blah, 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 blah. Stop right there, because you have to realize that independent comics have a very small audience. People that are willing to take a risk in buying something different by someone that they probably have never heard of before. Now, why would they take the risk to buy your superhero book when they have a safe bet with Spider Man, Superman, Batman, Justice League, so on and so forth? Write something different. You'll get more attention if you pick a specific genre like horror or science fiction or romance or a western or something different. I picked horror, and I'm glad that I did. The horror community is an amazing community to be a part of. They're so giving and very supportive. Pick something different. Be original. The comic books are not just about superheroes. It's not a genre, it's a medium. You are telling a story, tell something different. My next piece of advice for aspiring writers is write. Plain and simple, write. It might seem obvious, but I get emails at least once a week from people saying, "Oh, I've got this great idea for this comic book. Would you like to hear the idea and adapt it for me?" And I'm like, no, I don't want to write your book. You write your book. Why? I've got ideas of my own, and if I wrote it, I'm taking all of your credit for your idea. No, just if you want to be a writer, write. End of. Um, a third piece of advice. Again, this is mainly going out towards writers. I will speak towards artists in a moment, but assembling your team. Comic books are a collaborative medium, and unless you are incredibly lucky and your best friend is an amazing, fantastic artist that is willing to put the time in, then you need to be prepared, because most artists, if they are good artists, if they are reputable artists, if they have a great portfolio and a great body of work, they're going to be booked up. And a comic book, whether it's a 20-page one shot, a 6-issue miniseries, or an ongoing, it takes a hell of a lot of time for artists to dedicate to a comic book project in general. So I was completely naive. I wrote Video Nasty in 2011, and it hit the shelves in 2014. It took me that amount of time just to assemble my team, to find people that were free and able to work on the project. Um, it doesn't just stop with the artist. Obviously, you need a colorist and you need a letterer. And there's a million and one people out there that think that they can letter themselves. Yo, knock yourself out. But you need to realize that a good letterer will make your book pop and shine. We all take it for granted, and we all think that, yeah, I can just do it in Photoshop or Paint and put some bubbles up and type it in. I'll use Comic Sans. Nah, your book will look crap. Trust me, it will look crap. There are some great letterers out there. Hit them up. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them, just Google them. Get yourself a letterer. With that being said, though, be prepared to pay. If you are, born into a rich family and have a trust fund and are sitting on a large amount of cash, then you can pretty much ignore everything that I've said, because you can pay to have your project done. But I am a regular geezer who works a regular job, who makes a regular kind of living, and I have had to pay for everything. The artist, the colorist, the letterer, graphic design if you want to make your cover not look cheap, cover artist if you want a separate artist for the covers than you do for the internal artwork. Be prepared to have to pay for all of this, and it is not cheap at all. I can't speak enough about this. Video Nasty has cost me thousands of pounds to get out there. I won't recoup that money. If I sold it to a film studio to make a movie, then I would probably make my money back. But that's a long shot. That might not happen. Realistically, this project has cost me thousands of pounds. You want to know the harsh truth? This is the harsh truth. This is me being completely open and honest. I'm 32 years old. I had to move back in with my mum. I'm currently living in my mother's house. It's embarrassing. It sucks. Sacrifices have to be made if you want to get your project out there. It will cost you a lot of money. Once your team's assembled and your book is ready to go, you need to find a printer. In the UK, there's one called UK on Display. They're great and they will promote it for you and all of that good stuff. But again, it will cost you and it will not be cheap. And once you've paid for the printing costs and you're trying to sell your book, the profit margins that you make back will be minuscule, tiny, and it won't cover the costs that you have already paid out for your artists and your letterer and so on and so forth. So be prepared for that, because that's just the way that it is. And my next piece of advice is promotion. When you have produced your book, groovy, you have a product, but you're not going to be able to shift your product unless people know about it. Do you have an advertising budget? Chances are no, because you've spent all your cash just getting the book made. I had no advertising budget at all. You have to do guerrilla marketing. You have to get out there, create press releases and send them out to, say, horror. I wrote a horror book, so I wrote a couple of press releases, went through every single horror magazine, website, fan site, blah, 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 you name it, and I sent my press release out there and got noticed through it. Pimp yourself, because no one else will do it. Again, if you're a writer, depending on the passion level of the artist, they're probably not going to pimp the book for you. They'll put out some Facebook posts and all that kind of jazz. But realistically, once they've been paid for the art and they have done their job, they have done the job that they have been paid for. That's it. So don't expect other people to bend over backwards for you. You need to know it's on your shoulders. Okay. So prepare for failure because it could happen. There are a ton of books on the UK independent scene. There's hundreds of them, absolutely hundreds of them. And you want to know the truth? And I'm going to get so much heat for this, I couldn't give a shit because it's true. The majority of them are shit. In one way, shape, or form, they're crap. Maybe they haven't had someone proofread their scripts and it's full of grammatical errors or spelling mistakes, or maybe, as I spoke about before, they didn't get a letterer, or maybe the artwork is crap because instead of paying for an artist, they just asked their buddy to do it, or maybe they decided to draw it themselves. Whatever it is, there's a lack of quality within the British independent scene. And people are scared to take a risk because there's so much content out there. They don't really know what's good and what's not. And it's not like there's a website or a magazine or anything like that that is bending over backwards to go through them all and to give them ratings and to highlight which ones are really, really good. There's a couple out there, but they're really clicky and they'll big up their mates' comics. But if you don't know them and you aren't in that circle of friends, they're not going to waste their time with you. That's just the way it is. The old cliche of it's not what you know, it's who you know is true. It's a cliche for a reason. So be prepared for failure because it's ridiculously hard to get the money out of people to buy your book. Artists. I said that the majority of this I'd be talking about writing and writers, so I'm going to touch on artists. If you are a professional artist, if you have a portfolio, if you've been working in the comic book industry or just as an artist for years, or you've paid your dues, that's how you make your living, what I'm about to say doesn't concern you. I want to speak to the artists who aren't even on the bottom rung, or maybe they are on the bottom rung. Maybe they don't have much of a portfolio. They've never really done much professional work, or the professional work that they've done is something along the lines of, I don't know, Marvel UK or Transformers for Titan, which is great and everything, but it's Marvel and DC aren't looking at those books, so it's not like you're going to get hired off of the back of it unless it's something completely stellar that you show to them. The artists that haven't paid their dues, stop asking for ridiculous amounts of money for someone, from someone, excuse me, to draw a comic for them, because you ain't Jim Lee, you ain't Frank Miller. You ain't John Byrne, and you're at the bottom rung just like the writers are. You want to break into the industry just like they do. A little bit of sacrifice, you know. We appreciate the fact that it takes a hell of a lot longer for you to draw a completed comic than it does for us to write it. And that's fair enough. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't get any money at all, but all these artists that haven't drawn anything of note, that are asking for ridiculous page rates, just infuriate me. It's difficult enough to break into the industry, and that's a hurdle that is just unnecessary. It's about sacrifice for everyone on every level when you started at the bottom and you're trying to work your way up. So, speaking of sacrifice, I've sacrificed a year of my life to dedicate to this book of mine. like I said before, financially, all of my money has gone on it. All of my savings are depleted. I had to move back into my mother's house because I couldn't afford to pay rent anywhere else. And it won't be until early next year that I'm going to be able to get my own place. Video Nasty Volume 2, I can't afford it. I've got a script pretty much ready to go. It's even better than Volume 1. I'm going to have to attempt to Kickstarter next year, but if that doesn't work, I can't afford to put it out there. Be prepared. This is not an endeavour to be taken lightly. It is something that you have to be passionate for, and you have to want, and you have to understand that it's going to cost you a hell of a lot financially, emotionally. But if you want it, and you are passionate, and you have a great idea for a story, and you're willing to put in the hard work and the sacrifice to promote it, and to travel around the country to go to all these different conventions, and to come up with interesting new ways to market your product, and to write those press releases, and to pimp yourself out, then more power to you. And I hope you succeed. I hope I succeed. I hope we all succeed. I hope we get good products out there that people can enjoy reading. That's the main thing, is to entertain people with what we create. I hope this has been informative. I hope I haven't rambled on too much about a load of shite. And yeah, good luck.